Today, I will be ranking every Plants vs. Zombies game released on Xbox 360 from least good to best. Now, in the 360's life cycle, this series only ever saw 2 full game releases and what's essentially a standalone DLC, so there's not a lot to actually rank, but I'm going to do my best. My regular viewers can probably guess how this is going to go, but coming in at the bottom number 3 spot, we have Plants vs. Zombies Pinball for Pinball FX2. Now, the way Pinball FX2 worked was that the base game was free and you only paid for tables that you wanted, so that's why I called this game essentially a standalone DLC. Anyways, this is a very solid and highly detailed table with a ton of neat features, and it's my personal favorite table made by Zen Studios. Now, they could have taken the quick way out and tossed together a med table, but they dove all in, adding things like zombies occasionally spawning in and you eliminating them with the pinball to earn coins and points, or sometimes having a melon pulp minigame where you offsets with melons. You also have the Sunflower, who happens to be the table announcer, and like on Popcap's legendary tower defense game, she drops sunlight, which gives you points when picked up and can be used to unlock items like a squash, who will take care of Zeeks, or walnut shields, which can lock zombies in place for a moment, or my personal favorite, a frozen pea pinball, which is slower than the standard pinball, making it quite easier to manage. And props to the devs for making the pinball a pea, a good call in my opinion. In addition to these things, sometimes Crazy Dave drives his store onto the table, and if you hit his car's brake lights and then land a shot in his trunk, he opens up his store for you, where you can acquire a power-up of your choosing. A bit more about Zen's attention to detail. You have Dr. Zomboss at the end of the table, just doing his thing, and the pinball plunger is a corn cob, and chompers activate kickbacks if you happen to have one active. Gameplay-wise, well, it's pinball. The objective is to reach the highest score possible without losing your balls, and this table has a fun multi-ball mode, turned on by hitting 7 pinballs into the red mailbox on the left side of the table. In addition to these things, I will also praise this table for having 4 flippers instead of the minimum 2 as some tables have. The soundtrack is the amazing music from Plants vs. Zombies, and this table is great for me as I'm a pinball fan and PvZ is one of my favorite games of all time. So combine the amazing Plants vs. Zombies and pinball with Zen Studios in charge, you're gonna get a great product. 9.8 out of 10 by my grade scale. I want to say this was $4.99 before the 360 store closed, and it was cash well spent. Moving up to the second place game on my list, we have Garden Warfare. This one was developed by Popcap, but published by EA, and the Xbox One version is one of my favorite games ever made, but because of console restrictions and the phasing out of the 360 at the time of launch, the last gen version isn't quite as good as its Xbox One cousin. So, this is an online-only third-person shooter that mainly focuses on competitive multiplayer, but sadly it is near impossible to find an MP match on 360 these days. Now that being said, I did recently find someone on YouTube who was seeking out another player to help with achievement hunting, but he asked me to not record our gameplay and I respected his request. But as far as naturally finding players on PvP in 2025, don't count on finding anyone that way. But even if the lobbies did happen to be full, the 360 version doesn't have the Boss MP feature, in which you could play as Crazy Dave or Dr. Zomboss by providing air support from above the maps. I don't know specifically why this was cut from the last gen version, but oh well. The point is, this port doesn't have as much content as the next gen version. Anyways, with the MP servers empty, you can only really play the Horde Survival Garden Ops mode, which has a really fun split screen option on Xbox One, which sadly didn't find its way to the 360 port. That being said, Garden Ops is a lot of fun, but it can get a little boring after a while of playing on solo. You basically have to defend a garden against 10 waves of zombie attacks, with 2 of said waves being boss battles, like a disco zombie or a gargantuar, and you have a choice of 4 difficulties to play on. You can play as one of 4 plants from Plants vs. Zombies, being a pea shooter, a cactus, a sunflower, or a chomper, all of which have their own abilities and unlockable variants, and the sunflower is my favorite of the bunch because of her healing abilities. Now, all this being discussed, every now and then, on the very rare occasion, you can find somebody playing Garden Ops on 360 with an open lobby, but this is very uncommon, and while Garden Ops can be played as a lone wolf, it still requires an internet connection and is much better with other people in my opinion. But on the bright side, you can plant little plants to help you defend your garden, and you acquire said plants from buying mystery sticker packs, purchased using money acquired from vanquishing Zeds. Graphically, this game nails its cartoonish look, although needless to say the next-gen version looks and runs better. The sound effects and the OST are stellar, of course, and Garden Warfare is an absolute blast, but I just wish that more people were playing the 360 version these days, as the PvP is very fun and has many creative modes, like Gnome Bomb or Gardens and Graveyards, but with the emptiness of the lobbies, you're really only stuck with the side mode. In conclusion, this game earns a 9.9 out of 10 by my grade scale as my second favorite PvZ game on the 360. Used copies are pretty cheap last I checked for both Xbox 360 and Xbox One, so give it a spin if you haven't already done so. And y'all already know what the number 1 spot is. It's the OG Plants vs. Zombies, one of the best games of all times in my opinion, and I cannot tell you how many hundreds of hours I've put into this one. Do I really need to introduce this game? Probably all of you watching this have beat it at least once or twice. But for those who might happen to be unfamiliar with this title, it's a 2D tower defense game where you defend a house from cartoon-like zombies that want to eat your brain, and you use plants to fend off the undead hordes with the help of your neighbor Crazy Dave. Plants vs. Zombies was very original and creative, and it did recently get a port to modern devices, although I haven't heard much good about it. But that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to talk about the original goated PvZ, the one made before Popcap was bought by the dreaded company known as EA. You know, the guys who won Worst Company of the Year award 2 years in a row. Anyways, this game has a 50-level campaign spread out across 5 different environments, for lack of better wording, being your front and backyards with nighttime variants. And then the final area is on your rooftop, in which the Zeeks are trying to get into your house through the chimney. And on your first playthrough, you unlock a new plant with every level, helping the game stay constantly fresh. And I remember as a kid, on my first go-round, always getting so excited to see what plant I would unlock next, and experimenting around with my new plants. Good memories. Anywho, this game also has a really enjoyable New Game Plus mode, in addition to having boatloads of side content, like a endless mode, puzzle games, mini-games, local split-screen co-op, and PvP. The original Plants vs. Zombies is a gift that just never stops giving. And while sure, there isn't much of a story unless you want to read the comics, this title doesn't need a story really, as it is just pure simple fun for all ages, and it is super easy to pick up and learn, plus it's available on pretty much every major console released after its launch. Now graphics-wise, this thin indie game looks amazing, and the soundtrack, composed by Laura Shigihara, I hope I said that right, is absolutely amazing and very iconic. Laura is a very talented musician, and she actually recently made a Plants vs. Zombies cartoon series here on YouTube. It's very funny, go check it out when you have some free time. Back to talking about the game, I have never heard anyone say anything bad about it, and even my non-gamer wife enjoys this title, and it earns a 9.9 out of 10 as my favorite Plants vs. Zombies game on the 360. I personally own this one digitally, it's $5, and is backwards compatible on modern Xbox, although I believe the physical version came with 2 other games, Peggle and Zuma. I don't know if they were on the disc with PVZ or just download codes, but if anyone can clear this up for me, that'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that's my ranking of every Plants vs. Zombies game released on the 360. To the best of my knowledge, this list is complete, but if I somehow missed a game, please let me know in the comments. For anyone new here, I largely just review and discuss Xbox 360 games, so feel free to check out some of my other vids if that sounds like your thing. I'll have some videos of mine that you might like in the end cards. As far as our Bible verse of the day, I read Jonah 2:8 NIV. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. Like always, none of my content is made by AI, and I don't consent to my voice and likeness being modified, altered, and copied by AI in any way. Follow me on GameRam if you want hints at upcoming vids and behind the scenes stuff. Thanks for watching, Jesus loves you all, take it easy, peace. The sound effects and the OST are stellar, of course, and Garden Warfare is an absolute blast, but even if the lobbies did happen to be full, but even if